The only real God is the one that you believe in. Start looking for the God in others. And if you find you're tuning into a wave, well then I don't know much about being saved.
Hello, everybody.
Hello, friends.
Welcome into another episode of Spiritual Philosophy Chatter with the Joneses. I'm Danny Jones.
And I am Samantha Jones.
And this is episode 208.
208.
What is our topic today?
This is Awakening Your Soul's Purpose.
Good topic.
Yes.
Cool. Yes. Well, before we hop into it, anything you want to talk about from last week?
Yes, last week we did What Other People Think of You Is None of Your Business.
That's true.
That is true.
Both are true.
Yeah.
We did talk about that last week, and that is true.
Yes. Right. You're right. And also something that's true is that during that episode, I did a reading for Sunshine. Well, it was for Sunshine's grandma, really.
True.
That's the theme of the night. True. Okay. Anyways, so Sunshine said this about the reading. She said, "Thank you for the reading. I wanted to share this screenshot of my conversation with my grandma. Bobby always sat in Grandma's chair with her and slept with her. Grandma was always covering her in blankets and wearing sweaters when weather permitted. The tapping on the floor was endless, even with cut nails, and she always stood just outside the kitchen waiting for snacks, for meals, and gizzards." Yeah, gizzards. Okay. My grandma has always treated her dogs as children. I have pictures somewhere of full birthday parties for my childhood dog Jack. You are amazing, Samantha. And then she sent this that her grandma sent, and it's her new dog sitting in her lap like the other dog that's passed used to. Oh. Same way. That's what they do to show you that they're around. Yeah. So, yep. So thank you for the feedback, Sunshine. Appreciate it. And thank you to your grandma and her puppy. And then every week we answer 2 questions. The first one is from Brittany. She says, "I have a question that you probably get asked a lot. How do you know when it's time to let go and euthanize? How do I know when to let go? How does anyone know it wasn't a day too soon?" And we have talked about this a lot, but it is something that I get asked a lot, so don't mind answering this again for sure. Also, she did say something about, how do you know that it wasn't a day too soon? Well, one of the things when it comes to euthanization is that you're seeing a constant downhill usually when you do this. Either it's like a steady downhill or something traumatic has happened or sudden, and there's a reason why you're considering this. You have to look at what's going on and how things might be varying up and down, but when they start to be like at a consistent going downhill and don't have those times where they're even getting better anymore, that's absolutely one way to know. But that's also a way to tell yourself that if you do euthanize on one day and you're asking yourself the next day, was it a day too soon? That you can tell yourself, but my pet was constantly going downhill. And so today would have been worse than the last day. Right. And why do we have to make them suffer? We have to think about that. Like if you have a dog, let's say, and they're at a point in their lives where they're getting ready to pass, they might pass on their own, but they need a little bit of assistance. They might be sleeping all the time. Right. What kind of a life is that if they're sleeping all the time and they can't really do much and they're sore and they're not eating well? What kind of life is that for them? I try to put myself in their position too, if I would want to continue to fight whatever it is that I'm fighting in the pain that they're in. And that's a good way too. But the one that I talk about the most is choosing 3 things that your pet likes to do. With our dog Sequoia, she liked to play ball, she liked to go on walks, and she liked to eat. When she couldn't do those 3 things comfortably anymore, that's when we knew that it was time to put her down.
I think that's a pretty good rule of thumb, or 3 rules of thumb or whatever,
I do too. Yeah, I really do, because, they're usually a wide variety of things, and they will tell you, if your dog feels good, healthy on the outside and on the inside. And it really for animals is a lot different than it is for us. We look at death as a bad thing because that's what we've been taught. Right. But animals have not been taught that. No. They've actually been taught on the contrary that life is a cycle. You're born, you die, you're born, you die. It's a cycle. cycle. You go to the bridge and, in the interim, and they're fine with that. They don't look at it the way that we do. When we take them to the vets and they seem nervous about being put to sleep, they're not nervous about going to the other side. They're nervous about what they feel from us, and because they're at the vet. Yeah. That's why I tell people, if you can do it at home, it's best to do it at home.
Well, and that's what I think. It's like, well, if I were to gauge it on my own personal level to try to kind of relate to them, if I can't eat or walk or do one of my, favorite things, then I think it's probably time.
Absolutely. Yep. So hope that answers your question, Brittany, and gives you some insight, and sorry
Thanks,
for
Brittany.
what you're going through. And then Cindy asked, do our guides hear our private thoughts? For example, when I'm trying to be positive, but I'm thinking negative, do they know that?
Oh, yeah, they do.
Unfortunately, they sure do. There's no fooling them.
Because they're the positive.
They're the positive.
They're actually combating the negative with the positive.
Well, and the thing is if you're being negative, it's not just thoughts in your head. There's usually energy that goes along with that. It's what you attract. So they absolutely know that.
Yeah.
Are all of your thoughts public to them? No, I don't think that they are. I think that you can have your private moments and your personal thoughts without the other side knowing. But as far as what kind of mood you're in and the frame of mind and what's really going on, that's different.
I honestly, personally believe it's all knowing.
Yeah.
That nothing is secret.
Yeah, it's possible.
However, there's no judgment.
Yes, there's no judgment.
There's no judgment for the thoughts that you may or may not have.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. There are moments and things that we do that they're not interested in, though.
No.
That they're not in.
Are they sitting there engaging with you when you go off on a negative tangent in your mind? Are they hovering about? No, I don't necessarily know that for sure. But I know that there's some sort of positivity or something that comes in either prior to or after, that's trying to clear your mind of that.
Yeah, absolutely. Yep. But they know, too, that this is all normal when you're having those negative thoughts and moments. And so, like
that's
Danny
why I
said,
say no judgment.
No judgment. No judgment on any of it, on anything that you think. Like, I get asked sometimes by people, those intrusive thoughts, if the other side, if they hear our intrusive thoughts. And that's one of those things that I question. I'm not sure if they really care. Like, they're not always in our head wondering what we're thinking. So I'm not sure if those things are really, like, being projected to them or whatever.
The only reason why I would say yes is because when I have them, it's usually followed up with well, that's sure a stupid thought.
Okay, but...
and go, well, where does that come from?
But stupid comes from ego.
Well, maybe the verbiage isn't necessarily stupid, but okay, that's a really...
Weird thought.
Yeah,
I don't
not
know.
necessary.
Yeah, not necessary, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, but we all have those thoughts. We all have the intrusive thoughts,
Right.
and again, they're not judging you on them. So even if you are, having those thoughts, don't feel embarrassed or anything.
Right.
Because, they're not looking down on you. They're not judging you. And don't get in your own head about it either. Like, when I first had these abilities, I was like, how much are they in my head? What do they know? But it's not like that at all. So just try not to overthink it.
You're the only one that will judge you in the end.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah. And really, one of those voices inside of your head is your higher self. So it's just another piece of you anyways.
Yes.
Yeah, and that I believe is all-knowing. That I believe is just a part of your soul that's still there, a part of, like, what controls you in this simulation, or tries to guide you or whatever you want to say. That's meant to help us. So at those moments, like where you're talking about those intrusive thoughts, and where you hear that, well, why would you say that?
Right.
That could be your higher self bringing that to light as well.
Yeah.
Yep. So hope that answers your question, Cindy.
Thanks, Cindy.
Yeah, thanks, Cindy. And then every week I do a reading. Let me get that one up here. This is for a puppy. For Mary. Mary says, wondering if you can provide me with any health insight on my beautiful Hikari. She can be somewhat cautious when sitting, so I'm wondering if there's an issue. Thanks so much.
Hikari.
Yeah, we have sushi restaurants,
Yeah.
a chain of them around us called Hikari, and every time,
And he
Hikari.
has the look too, the happy hi.
Yeah, yeah, this is an Asian dog. I think this
Pretty.
is a Shiba Inu, yeah.
Yeah.
Beautiful, but definitely Asian dog. Okay, so let me tune into Hikari and see what she's got going on here. Okay, so there's a few things. She is slowing down, and there is some issues in the hips and the back, but there's also issues coming from the feet, and this is something that I tell people to look out for. I see it with our dogs a lot now that we have wood floor, is when they're on hard surfaces, they have to use their toenails to grip the floor. But if their toenails are too long, it's really hard for them to do that. And so it can actually send shooting pains up through their feet. And so that's one of the things that I'm feeling with her back feet especially, is that sometimes they get sore from like concrete and asphalt and that kind of thing, from being out, So make sure that those are always trimmed down well, and that will help that. But also I'm being drawn to my own dog for this, so he has flat feet, and so I'm feeling like she's got that flat-footed problem in the back too, and that's another reason why it's really important to keep her nails trimmed in the back. A few things that you can do to help this besides the nail trim, if you're not already doing these, and for anybody listening that has animals with these kinds of issues, is any animal really, I think, any dog should be on some kind of hip supplement like Cosequin, especially if it's a breed that is prone to hip issues and arthritis, because this helps. It's Cosequin and glucosamine, and I think there's like shark cartilage and stuff, and it helps. I can tell, like, when we run out and the dogs don't have it for a few days, Zuma starts cracking. You can hear him cracking more.
Yeah.
So that is definitely one thing. Fish oil has good properties in it to help with this as well. There's also an injectable called Adequin, and I give that to our boys once a month. It's an injection once a month, and it is not a medication. It actually helps to regrow the cartilage, and you can tell like when it starts to wear off, but it really does help them, wouldn't you say?
Yeah,
I think
for sure.
that's anybody that sees, especially with their large breed dogs, talk to your vet about Adequin.
Yep.
And then if those things don't help by themselves, adding something like Rimadyl, Carprofen, or gabapentin to help with pain would be helpful. Because as she's getting older, she's definitely feeling this more. And she's very active and likes to stay active. But sometimes with these active dogs, what happens is they're like overly active. And then at the end of playing, they've worn themselves out so much, but they didn't realize that they're doing it. So we need to be on top of that. So when they do those kinds of things, to have pain meds maybe on hand if we see them limping and all that. So I hope that helps you, Mary.
Thanks,
And,
Mary.
Yeah, thank you, and
And
thanks,
Hikari.
Hikari. Yeah. All right, let's give our info.
All right.
So you can find me at SamanthaJonesPsychicMedium.com. I have a radio show that airs every Wednesday on VoiceAmerica.com on the Empowerment Channel at 10 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. Last week's topic was When Mom's the Problem.
Good
And
one.
I thought it was a good episode. Yeah, I even had a caller that talked about the issues that
That was
she had
awesome.
with her mom. Yeah. So if you have issues with your mother, I would give a listen to that episode.
Yeah.
And then you, sir.
Yes, for my art, djonesartcollection.com for the web, at djonesartcollection for Instagram, Facebook, and TikTok.
Yay.
That's it for me.
Fabulous.
All right, then. Episode 208, Awakening Your Soul's Purpose.
One of my favorite sayings, and I think it's one of yours too, is that we are not humans having a spiritual experience, but spiritual beings having a human experience.
It is so true.
It's absolutely true. And it's one of the things I think that helps to show us a little bit about our soul's journey. This life really that we're living right now is like, it's just a pit stop in like the grand scheme of things. We have so many lives that we live. And if you think about it, at one point, we were all baby souls. We were all just starting out. We, lived our first life, lived a few lives or whatever. But now, who knows? Right. Who knows how many lives we've lived at this point? But in each one of those lives, one of our goals is to find our soul's purpose and to open our soul's purpose, awaken it, to, if these are, usually our soul's purpose ends up being something that helps others in some way, shape, or form.
Right.
Whether it's like me, I'm a psychic, you are an artist, and that is a form of entertainment, and it's divine. Some people, they are construction workers, and that's their purpose because they like to put their hands on things and build things, and they are helping people because they're building their homes and their offices and the restaurants and whatever they're building.
Yeah.
So there's so many different purposes that we have, that we can have throughout these lives. But in each life, it seems to be a different type of purpose. Your soul's purpose is why you're here on this earth at this time. It is the mission that you gave yourself when you came here. We come here already knowing why we're coming here, but we forget.
Yeah.
When we're young, I really do believe that we know why we're here.
Yeah.
And then memory fades. Our society, it's family that tries to teach us, oh, you can't possibly remember that. There's so many kids that we see on TikTok, especially videos of kids talking about their past lives.
Yeah.
And if you encourage those types of things, they
it gets fascinating.
It does. It absolutely does.
But when it's shunned or like, no, that's nonsense, that's where the child, because their brain is already not developed fully,
right,
they are going to brush that off as nonsense. They're going to follow with what they're being told instead of encouraging to remember.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. And we're just taught that there's no way that there's like this magic world that we've come from and that we go back to and all of that, but it really is, it's true. All of that.
I agree.
I didn't really know what my soul's purpose was until about 5 years ago when I opened up my psychic and medium abilities. I knew my whole life that I wanted to work with animals. I've always felt a draw to animals, and it's been something I've consistently done since I was about 19 years old. But I also did a lot of other things along the way because I didn't know. I didn't know what I was supposed to be doing with my life.
Right.
And we're supposed to do those things. We're supposed to have those other jobs and try one thing. If it doesn't work, try something else. Because not only are we like learning about ourselves and opening up our life's purpose, but we are also having like life lessons and learning skills. So like for me, being a pet sitter for 20 years, and I also worked at doggy daycares and at PetSmart and at Petco and a bunch of other places, I learned a lot about animals and a lot of my work with living animals, it is intuitive work. It's me connecting to the animal and finding out what the issue is, but the animal can't solve their problem themselves.
Right.
So the experience that I've had with animals helps me to be able to do it as a whole, like a behaviorist and a psychic all in one.
Right.
But it didn't stop there, there was still more that I wanted to develop because I always felt this draw to helping people because like it really, I feel like it takes somebody that has been through a lot of trauma in their life to help somebody that's been through trauma in their life. So I thought, for me, with the things I experienced as a child, and then also like with the loss of my mom, that these were things that I could help people with. Yeah. So I thought about being a therapist. In California, you have to have a master's degree to be a therapist.
Yeah.
So that was not going to happen. Yeah, that wasn't going to happen. But my wish came true because as a psychic, I get to be a spiritual counselor and I get to help people in that way that always felt like it was kind of a part of my purpose, but like I couldn't open it up because of school and stuff like that. So, but yeah, it doesn't always come when you're young. Sometimes it waits until you're older for you to understand it. Yeah.
I was a little different in that way that I knew I could draw. And I was artistic at a very young age. And I was told that by my elders, people around me, like, wow, you're pretty good. Yeah. And I had an uncle that was really artistic and really good. So they would say things like, oh, you're like Uncle Greg. You must have that gene or something in you. It was getting older in life that I was told, and then I kind of stumbled upon music first as a listener and then more interested as a player. But I was kind of led to believe not just for my own family, but society in general, that that doesn't pay the bills. And that's not a realistic idea. So I did a lot of other things, other jobs in between and stuff like that, till I kind of full circled.
Yeah.
Right back to where I started. And that was, I guess that's my purpose.
Yeah. Yeah. It is. I believe that when we are given a talent like what you have with music and with art, that this is it's a part of our purpose, if not our purpose. You know, there's a reason why you have these artistic abilities. There's the reason why I was given the gifts that I have, and that's what brings you to your purpose.
Yeah.
It doesn't mean that you have to do it for a living.
Right.
If you have a job that you really like, but you're artistic on the side, as long as you're putting some of your effort into your soul's purpose, that's what we're here to do.
I mean, that's a great point, because a lot of people don't believe that they can be successful with what they love. So unfortunately, like, the dollar becomes the bottom line.
Yes.
And you think to yourself, oh, well, I could do this and make this amount of money, or I could do this and make this amount of money.
Right.
And making the dollar is great. Is that, or should that be the sole purpose of your purpose?
No.
No. I think with you and I in particular, we have, to a lot of people, gambled a lot.
Oh, yeah.
On our ability to find our
Yep.
find our path within our purpose, you know, and to follow that and not deviate.
It's hard.
Yeah.
It is hard, because you're right. The dollar is usually what brings you to where you are in your life and what your career is. But that is a lesson that the universe wants us to learn, is that money is not the most important thing. It should not guide your passion.
Right.
If you have a job that you absolutely hate, but you're doing it for the money, and you have a passion that you love, but you're afraid that you won't make enough money at that, then you're living in fear, and you're not applying yourself to your passion.
Yes.
It's common, and I'm not lecturing by any means, because I understand. I've been a risk taker when it comes to this area my whole life. I'm not the type of person that needs to have a steady paycheck. It actually excites me more to not know, which may sound weird, but like, you have those times where, you know, even with the business I'm in now, but it was the same with pet sitting, where it's really quiet. And you're like, what am I going to do? And then all of a sudden, you're making money so quickly. It's just coming to you so easy. Yeah. And there's this rush that goes along with that. But I understand that not everybody's cut out for that kind of thing, you know, but the universe wants us to take those kinds of risks.
Yes.
If you feel like you want to take those risks in life, that you're tired of working for the man, that this is not your life purpose, the universe loves to see us go after what is meant for us, and it will help you along your path. If you deviate off the path and go back to something that you're not supposed to be doing, like if I went back to pet sitting, the universe might not assist me as much as it does, because I'm veering off my path. I'm taking free will. We were talking about this earlier, because I was forced out of pet sitting during COVID. But I knew that it was coming, because I was told that I was going to start losing my daily clients one at a time. I wasn't told it was going to be a pandemic. I was just told how it was going to happen. But if I wouldn't have known that this was what was happening to lead me to do my passion for a job, my purpose for a job, I would have been freaking out. I would have been completely freaking out.
Yeah.
But the universe wants us to have faith in those moments, and it's hard.
It is hard.
It is. Yeah.
But that's what we're doing, you know, and a lot of what we've done is we've gambled on that. We've relied on the faith that we are making, you know, the right choices, or at least we're following the signs to make the choices. But you said something that was so important. It is like, I don't care in all of history what it was, but any success comes with risk.
Yeah.
Any failure comes with risk. That's because we're supposed to take these chances. We're supposed to move ourselves.
Yep.
We're not supposed to stay in the same space and just rot there.
No.
I don't mean you're supposed to necessarily move your job or, to another one, but if that's what you want, do it. Or you can move up within your job. Or you can make your own job.
Yes, absolutely. Really, you can do whatever you want. Like we're taught for whatever reason that we have to stick within these certain parameters or whatever, but really you can do whatever you want if you set your mind to it.
Yeah.
It's not going to be easy,
No.
but life's not supposed to be easy.
No.
And finding your purpose and awakening your purpose and growing it is not easy. No. But it's an amazing feeling to know your purpose and finally be like, oh, okay, so this is what I'm here for.
Yeah.
This makes sense. Instead of like questioning, I don't want to pet sit forever and I don't want to be a caregiver forever. And but I got to do something. What's it going to be? Here it is.
Yeah.
Finally settled into it. And it's all risk.
Yeah.
But it's worth it. It's absolutely worth it.
It is.
I asked our listeners, do you feel like you have discovered your life purpose? And 31% said yes, 52% said no, and 17% said, I am not sure. Nancy said, no question. It's so deeply ingrained in me and who I am. When you're an empath or a healer, your life and your very existence is your purpose. I feel bad for people who struggle not knowing. Being a healer is another part of my purpose, and I didn't realize that. And then all of a sudden one day I heard my mom say that I was a healer, and I was like, what is that supposed to mean? I thought, that's kind of ridiculous. Okay, but oh my gosh, it's actually one of my favorite parts of my abilities.
Yeah.
Being able to heal certain things it's pretty remarkable.
Yeah, like when you first hear it, you think, all of a sudden you imagine like the 700 Club or something, Lord, heal.
No, it's not quite like that. It's not quite like that at all. But it is amazing, that's for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It is.
We live in a world that does not teach us how to understand our feelings, our intuition, our connection to this universe, really. So to help, here's some suggestions on how to remember your soul's purpose so that you can awaken it in this world that has not taught us how to do this.
Yeah.
Because when you have your soul's purpose, your life is you're more content in your life. And so it's like, I don't know how to explain it, trying to find that point. It just really calms your life down, for sure. So let's see. So we were, some suggestions to help you remember your soul's purpose. Getting in touch with yourself, learning about yourself, establishing that connection. Like sometimes I feel like people don't know themselves. Like they don't have a personal relationship with themselves. They have more of a relationship with their spouse or with their children. And you ask them, what do you like?
Yeah, kind of my heart goes out to maybe a lot of I'm not being sexist or anything, but like a stay-home mom.
Yeah.
That gets married young, has children young, and stays home and takes care of the home and the children, and the father goes to work. Where does that person have time to figure out? Like if they didn't know at a young age and relied on learning at an older age what their purpose was, how do they do that?
Absolutely.
So I feel for that type of situation in particular.
Absolutely. Me too. I think you also have to be really, truly honest with yourself. Honesty is something that's hard because if you're in a job and you're like, yeah, this is my purpose. This feels good. I'm content with it. But are you really
Right.
being honest with yourself?
Right.
So that whole getting to know yourself thing, it also helps you to be more honest with yourself. Because it is hard.
Yeah.
I think one of the reasons why that is so hard, the being honest with yourself, is because if you're not in that place in your life and then you're honest about this is all the work that I have to do and everything, it seems overwhelming. Yeah. And maybe to yourself you might seem like a failure. Like some people might think at 40 years old you still didn't know what your life purpose was, while to others they might be like, wow, you already know what your life purpose was at 40.
Yeah.
We all develop at different rates and at different speeds.
Yeah, I don't think there's any right or wrong time.
Yeah.
It's just at any point in your life, do you become aware of it?
Right. Definitely. Something else that we have a tendency to do is we don't follow the path that we want to follow. We follow a path suggested by someone else. Those following their life purpose live their chosen, authentic life and their authentic self. And that is definitely something that's changed for me, as I feel like before I found my life purpose and started working towards it, I didn't really know who I was, and I wasn't my authentic self. And a lot of us, we don't know how to be our authentic selves. We don't really even know what that is.
Right.
But we also push it down and hide it because we're afraid of what people will think of that part of us. Like, I definitely was afraid when I opened this up that what people were going to think about me. And it took me a while to get used to the fact that not everybody's going to like what I do for a living. But the fact is this is my purpose. This is what I'm here for.
Sure.
And so allowing other people
Right.
to, say, oh, that's not the way that you should be going, or that's devil's work or whatever. I'm just allowing those people to control my life instead of following what I feel the universe wants me to follow.
Yeah, I agree.
I think that happens with a lot of people, especially you were told the same things.
Yeah, that kind of can go very much so with the creative type of personality that we're all a bit maybe shy. And you look at people that you see are mega stars and go, they're kind of shy. They're insecure. How could that be? They get on stage in front of people every single night. Well, you can get used to anything.
Right.
But it doesn't mean that it changes, your inner thoughts. So when you're exposing yourself and sharing something that's creative or from within, I think everybody gets a little bit scared of rejection or criticism.
Yep. Oh, absolutely, we do. Yep. I think finding your soul's purpose can be viewed as like a scavenger hunt or like an investigative journey where you're learning about yourself and you're trying to find different clues to what it is that you're here for. It's really, I think it's about asking yourself questions on an egoless level, putting your ego aside and actually, what am I passionate about? And doing whatever it is, not based on what other people think, but on how you feel. We have a close friend that she makes, they're called kink bombs. And they're bath bombs that have sex toys inside of them. And she loves this. She is so happy doing this. It's not her full-time job. It's something that she does on the side. But she goes to conventions. And you know what? Maybe this is her purpose. Maybe her purpose is to do whatever it is that makes her happy. But a lot of people don't understand that. She gets a lot of people, Prudenstein, I think she calls them, that, don't understand why you would want to do such a thing. But there is, just like there's a lid for every can, there is an occupation or a purpose for everybody. And all of these things, these are needed things.
Yeah.
Like what, Yeah.
We wouldn't have half the things we have if people weren't, willing to take a chance and come out and try it.
Yep.
Yep,
absolutely. I think sometimes too, when we're trying to find our soul's purpose, that a lot of times our life can feel like it's out of control. Like we were talking about this earlier about COVID and about how when COVID hit, I really feel like it was not just about change, but it was about forcing a lot of people into their passion, into doing something else that they didn't know that they were supposed to do. But rather than hanging on, you have to let go and surrender and enjoy the ride and see where it's going to take you. But that's hard to do.
It is. I kind of did a little bit of that in my last job that I spent 13 years in, trying to sort of, I guess maybe convince myself that there was a niche for me there.
Yeah.
And I push. And I was the type of person that was raised to kind of, you need that guaranteed amount on your check every week or 2 weeks, like a lot of people, scrimping and, scraping and saving or not saving, but, just living paycheck to paycheck.
Yep.
And so I wanted to convince myself that there was this niche for me there. And it had this, this safety of having this guaranteed check every 2 weeks.
Right.
What I didn't think about is that job could end at any minute.
Yes.
And then I don't have a paycheck.
Yeah.
Right?
That's right.
Whether there's a niche or there's not a niche. Well, 13 years later, it ended.
Yeah.
And so, luckily for me, I would have been an essential worker at that point and would have had to work through COVID, and I'd have been a freaking wreck
I know.
if I had to do
Me
that.
too, yeah.
So the universe shoved me out.
Yeah, it did.
Not just because COVID was coming, but because the niche I was trying to create, I didn't need to create under someone else's umbrella.
No.
I just need to do it under mine.
That's right. That's right. And it will force us to do those types of things so that we can have the life that we are supposed to have. And it will absolutely be uncomfortable. But here's one of the things is that happiness is like a natural indicator that we're living in alignment with our soul's purpose.
Yeah.
If you're miserable, then you're not living your life purpose. It's not possible. Like, I'm not saying every day is good. Like, I'm human. I have bad days.
Right.
But when the going gets tough and I really start thinking about things, I'm so grateful for the fact that I figured it out and that I'm living it and I'm working it, because it helps life to make sense, and it helps life to, especially when it's in the spiritual realm, like for me, it's helped life to make a lot more sense. A lot more sense.
Yeah, it does.
I do think, though, too, that we can have multiple purposes and we can play like different roles in our own lives throughout our lives.
Yes.
So for some, that might manifest in different careers or different hobbies. So, like for a while I was involved with the bird rescue and the ferret rescue and that type of thing. And I feel like I did a really nice job with that. And I helped get homes for a lot of ferrets and a lot of birds.
Yeah.
So that was a purpose maybe at that point in my life, but it's not like the life purpose. But at that time, I was doing what I was supposed to be doing, and it was fulfilling a part of my purpose.
Yeah.
So I think that there's definitely...
I relate to that. I think that
purposes.
starting with art at a young age, I loved it, always loved it. That was my first love. And then when music became a part of my life, and especially as a player, it seemed to take a bit of priority over art in my mind and my time. But as time went on, I could see that they actually crossed paths. So I started being able to be artistic within the music I was doing, meaning like designing CD covers or flyers or taking photos for things, whatever it was. And then kind of having this again, like when you learned your gift and kind of giving me readings about how this was going, these paths would cross over each other and then kind of separate, and they would cross back over each other and separate. So they're always intertwined throughout my life. Yep. I can't shake it. It's just going to be that way.
Exactly. It's like me with animals.
But my focus at the moment might be like, I really want music. I really want
Right.
music. But I really should have been focusing art.
Yeah.
Or vice versa. you know?
Right. Yeah. And that happens. Sometimes it's hard. We feel a pull to one thing, but that's our mind telling us and not the universe telling us, But when you have, like you have two passions. And when you have, one that you're more drawn to, but that one maybe more is like, something on the side where the other one is the more main job and that kind of thing. Hey, do them both.
I'm just trying to be open to it all.
Yep.
Really.
Something else is that your purpose, your gifts, they don't need to be extraordinary.
No.
They don't have to be anything special or complex. You might be surprised, actually, that your purpose is something that you've always known about yourself. You might be great at fixing things in cars. So maybe your purpose is to be a mechanic, or you enjoy creative writing and love kids. So maybe your purpose is to write children's books.
Yeah.
These are the things that like I've put together. It's like I do enjoy this kind of thing. I enjoy expanding people's minds, talking, about my favorite subjects. And I look back and I see when I was involved with the bird rescue, I did that with the bird rescue, and I did that with the ferret club. And these were things that I love, talking to people and helping them with these types of situations, but it's nothing super extraordinary. It's just the gift of, talking.
Everybody has something, like my dad is an accountant. He, went to college for it, and he worked for the government for like 40 years as a government contract auditor. And so he's able to do his own taxes and pretty well. And so that in turn, he was able to do a lot of people in my family's taxes.
Yep.
So he's doing good things. And it's hard for me to wrap my head around that because I go, God, math?
Yep.
Numbers? Ooh, boring. Like it's stressful. He loves it.
Yeah.
He gets
Oh,
off
I
on
can't.
numbers.
Yeah, no.
And in turn, he's able to take that gift and, he saves family members or friends some money.
Yep.
He does their taxes for them, So I still trip on it and go, well, it is a gift.
It is a gift.
You know?
Absolutely. Yeah. And he loves it. And like for some of us, it's a nightmare.
Yeah.
Like I don't want to do that
Right.
kind of work, but like, yeah, for him, it comes natural and he loves it.
Yeah.
And I think that's how you know if you love your job, if you love what you're doing, if, you don't hate getting up every morning to go to work. It doesn't feel like, you're in prison. Then I think that's a good sign that you're doing your purpose.
Yeah.
I love my job. I don't know every day what the schedule is going to be like, but I don't complain about my radio shows on Wednesday morning. I don't complain about doing the podcast. I love doing it.
Yeah.
It's helping people and it's building my purpose.
For sure.
Your purpose is also going to evolve as you do. So as you step into newer versions of yourself and you grow, so will your purpose. So don't stress out too much about what you're going to do right now, because chances are you're going to evolve. So if you're just kind of getting started with learning your life purpose, it most likely will evolve. When I started out doing the psychic medium work and animal communication work, I had no idea that we'd be here doing a podcast and that I'd have a radio show and all of that. But it makes sense for my purpose because it's to get the word out, and that how else is a better way to do it than through this type of thing. But no idea. And as my purpose evolves, it gets more and more towards what I think my main goals are, which is writing a book and being on stage and doing like TED Talks and motivational speaking and like things like what Tyler Henry does, doing readings, but also doing the motivational speaking and stuff. So it's building, it's getting there. Most people, they don't just learn what their purpose is and you're there.
Right.
It evolves, it takes time, and it's supposed to because you grow. And as you're growing, your abilities and your strengths in what your purpose is grow.
Yep.
Very much so. Something that I talked about briefly is when you are learning about your self-purpose is practicing that self-awareness and learning about yourself. And this is really a key point in this because learning more about yourself helps you to know what you like.
Right.
Learn more about yourself and why you feel and act the way that you do. Take the time to explore even painful memories and forgive yourself and others and release negative energy, because a lot of times we hold energy inside that keeps us from fulfilling our purpose. If you have resentment that you're holding on to or past trauma or whatever, and you don't feel like you are deserving of finding your life purpose or whatever, this is all negative, stagnant energy inside of yourself.
Yeah.
That if you let go of that, it will help you to be able to move forward. So greater self-awareness invites the positive energies as well as endless potential and possibilities. Really,
Yes.
like it just opens so much up for you when you're more open to it. Like with this work that I do, if you've ever seen the movie Yes Man, I kind of feel like it's a little bit like that, where when somebody asks me to do something, I just do it because I know that the universe has brought it to me for a reason.
Yeah, I've learned that now. Like some of the things you go, that's not worth my time.
Right.
But I'm not thinking in terms at that moment of what that particular opportunity, what other opportunities could come from that opportunity.
Right.
So before I'm less quick nowadays to kick those small opportunities to the curb, and I pay attention more to them. Like,
yes,
there might be something that comes of this. Because I'm a musician and I love music, I relate so much to it. But this podcast would be a good example too of like when you're finding your purpose or you've found it, understand that nothing goes from point A to point B overnight.
Yeah.
It has to grow.
Yeah.
It has to flourish. And you need to have knowledge and experience from that point A to point B.
Yeah.
So you feel more confident and secure in what it is you're expressing or you're doing.
Right.
Well, you listen to like the episode 1 of this podcast. I mean, we are just like,
Oh my gosh,
flailing.
it's awful.
And I'm not saying that this is all superb and great now that we're at 208, but you can hear the level of comfort, understanding, learning, knowledge, experience, hope, all that stuff that we didn't really quite have a grip on it episode 1.
Yep.
And I look at bands like, say, Led Zeppelin, for instance, their first record to the last one, everyone was different. And they took a chance on each one and let themselves sort of grow.
Yeah.
Let that purpose grow.
Yeah.
And instead of kind of putting restraints on yourself as to where you think that should go.
Yeah.
Follow that more intuitive feeling of maybe I should not kick this small opportunity to the curb.
Yes.
I should take it because this is part of possibly that growth that I'm looking for.
Yes. Yes. I actually, at the beginning of the spiritual journey, had auditioned like for 2 or 3 different reality shows. Mm-hmm. I didn't want them at all. I did not want to be on a reality show, especially at that point in the journey. But when the universe puts something in front of me that has something to do with my purpose, I just do it. I don't question. For a few reasons. Because first of all, maybe it wasn't one, but obviously I didn't get the reality shows, thank God. But maybe one of those shows with the people that I auditioned in front of will later down the line remember me and want me for something else.
Right.
Maybe it was to help me to learn how to audition for these things so that I get used to it, so that when the time comes for me to actually have something I need to audition for, I've had experience. We take rejection as it's not supposed to, this isn't for me. Yeah. But when we take rejection as learning lessons that are helping us to build us to the point that we need to be at, it kind of changes things. So whenever the universe says, yes, this is, you need to do this, or I get an invite to, be on a podcast or to have an article written about me or whatever, I always jump on the opportunity. Yes, I'm not a huge fan of doing video chat readings. But if somebody asks me to do them, I will do them because I'm showing the universe that I care enough about my purpose that I'm willing to go outside of my comfort zone to do something like that. And that's what they like to see. And we advance more in our purpose when we do those types of things.
And as a result of following that intuitive feeling and what you were talking about, you now have your own radio show.
Yeah.
Right? Mm-hmm. So it took you to do those things, to get in front of the microphone or the camera, whatever it was, and to face your fear.
Yep.
And go, this could lead to something else, which that's exactly what it did.
Yes. And we were talking about the couple in Las Vegas that have the production company, and they hire out, right? And so one of the things that I was talking to her about is that I want to do the kind of stage work, right? And she was telling me that I should go on these different sites and look at some of the ways that other people do them, because flow and timing and all of that stuff is important. And then I realized that what the acting classes were for. Remember, it was to learn how to do this, and the timing and the talking in front of people. And it all hit because I was taking acting classes and not having any clue why I was doing it. Right. And it's like these things don't make sense at the time. But if you feel pulled and compelled to do something, just do it. Just do it, because it could absolutely be something that's setting you on course for your purpose and, where you're headed to.
Absolutely.
My sister is going through a tough time right now, and she's a dog groomer, and she has to, the dog grooming shop that she works at is going to be under renovation, and so she basically doesn't have a job come June. And she's really stressed about this. But I told her, I said, what if the universe is trying to line you up for a different career? What if, because she's also learning about animal communication and she's doing really, really well. Yeah. And so I said to her, why don't you go in my free reading group on Facebook and start doing some practice readings? And she says, I can't do that. Right. I can't do that. And I said, well, not with that attitude, you can't.
Yeah,
But you have to start somewhere.
Yeah,
like,
you'll be the first to knock yourself down
absolutely you will, huh? Betty agrees
before
too.
anybody else.
Yep, you will. And so that's one thing that I learned at a young age is never say can't.
No.
That I can't.
No.
Because you can. You absolutely can. It may not be easy, but you can do it.
Yes.
If you put your heart and your soul into it, you can. And you know what? If you're supposed to go down a certain path, the universe will push you down that path. So like how her grooming shop is closing. Well, why is her grooming shop closing?
Right.
Why is that happening? So that she can,
Right.
you know.
And your perception might be that, why is this happening to me?
Exactly.
Maybe it's happening for you.
That's exactly right.
Yeah.
But we're scared.
Yes.
And I get that. You know, I feel very blessed and grateful about the fact that I have these abilities and that it does help me to somewhat understand where my life is going. Because if I didn't at all, I think I would panic a lot of the times. And so I understand why people panic. And but that panic, that fear is what pushes you away from your purpose.
Yeah.
Sometimes you just have to face the fear head on. You know, you have to take the risk.
You do. Absolutely, you do.
It's those risks that,
Like, just with this stuff, the technical side of it, you know, if that one member of the band I was playing with for all those years didn't leave, the guy that was sort of in charge of the recording aspect, I wouldn't have never jumped into either purchasing anything
right.
to record or learning it. I was content with like, cool, somebody else do it. I don't want to do it. But it threw me in a position, which I was scared. I was a bit frustrated. Like, I don't know how to do this and I'm never going to learn. Well, of course, I'm not going to learn with that attitude.
Yep.
But the more I was around people that did know, I could make mental notes and ask questions.
Yep.
And then comes your show where I'm like,
Yes.
you're like, I need music. And I'm thinking, well, 10 years ago, I wouldn't have been able to provide you with anything.
Right.
And all of a sudden now, I took the time to stop and learn something that I could provide you with what you were seeking.
Yes.
You know, and not be terrified of how am I going to do this?
Yeah. But you have to start somewhere.
Right.
Like, nobody's good at something the first time that they try. They're just not. You know, people don't just turn on a computer and know how to record music. You have to learn how to do that. And it can be a very frustrating process to learn these things.
We wouldn't be able to do the podcast.
No, we wouldn't. It was all, the way it was all set up was very strange too,
Right.
because it was very much like, you need to get this equipment. The universe was like, get this equipment.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden my mom's like, you need to do a podcast. And we didn't want to do the podcast either, because we were both like, we don't know what we're talking about. We've only been doing this for a year. How are we supposed to talk about the universe when we have no idea? I was not like even confident in myself enough to do readings on the podcast at that point. So it takes time and it takes growth and it takes, you know, it takes that desire too. If you're just like, meh, I don't really care, then, you know, you're probably not going to get where you need to go anyways. But this life is not meant for us to sit here and do nothing with it. And a lot of times what happens if you don't find your purpose by middle age is the universe pushes you into an uncomfortable situation where you'll learn what your purpose is when you're in that uncomfortable situation. And then a lot of times people still don't learn then, and then they go on living the rest of their life and they're miserable or, you know, whatever. And then they get back to the other side and they're like, well, shit.
Gotta do that again.
I messed that one up, didn't I? So it's worth taking the risks and facing the fears. And, you know, I try to live this life now that I know about what I know as a video game or a simulation or looking at my own life as a movie. And that helps a lot because it's like, okay, well, what do you want to see your character do in this movie? Do you want to see them continue to work this 9-to-5 job that they hate?
Right.
Or do you want to see them follow their passion and their purpose?
There always seems like there's this, like, you know, I think we all can relate to these sort of dual voices in our consciousness. One that might be, you know, sharing negativity and one that might be sharing positivity. That's kind of how I see it. But whenever I'm nagged at these things like, oh, I don't want to do that. And you hear this, do it.
Do it.
Do it.
Do it now.
Do it.
Don't wait.
That's like the universe giving you breadcrumbs.
Yeah.
They're spreading them on the path in front of you.
Yep.
And they're telling you, just give it a shot.
Yep.
Every one of these things that we've tried. And back then, like when before the podcast even came up or that situation, I thought, well, or when the guy left and I was kind of left to figure it out, I thought, I'm so focused on music right now. I didn't see how this would spawn a whole other purpose then.
How could you?
But because I followed that, do it.
That's right.
And tried to ignore as much as I could that voice going, nah.
That's the ego, yeah.
I don't want to do that, man. It nothing's gone wrong with it.
I will tell you, when you have those times where you hear something in your head and you don't want to listen to it, and I'm not talking about an intrusive thought, I'm talking about the thought of you should do this, and it's, something that actually sounds like it's a good idea, but you don't want to do it. That's the universe talking to you. And that's when you should just do it. So many times, every day, I think that happens because I like these little challenges. I challenge the universe because I feel like you can earn more like brownie points and get more rewards if you accept more challenges. So I'm like, okay, what's the challenge today? And then a lot of the times I'll know what the challenge is and I'm like, no, not that.
I know.
But I know that it's furthering my soul's purpose and I'm growing and all that.
Yeah.
So you have to take the universe's challenges, even if they don't sound like they're any fun, because you know what? When you get past it and you work through all of that, it feels good in the end.
Yeah.
Like, I like it after I've completed one of their tasks that are hard because I feel accomplished.
Yeah. I agree.
So there you have it, friends.
Very good.
Go out and find that soul's purpose if you don't know what it is. If you do know what it is, start working on trying to awaken it.
And do it.
Yeah, and do it. Like the universe says, do it. Do it.
We sound like Beavis and Butt.
Yeah.
No, great advice.
Yeah.
I agree 100%.
Fabulous.
All right, then. Well, before we say goodbye to everybody, you want to share your information one more time?
Yes, you can find me at SamanthaJonesPsychicMedium.com. You can find the radio show there, everything about this podcast, where to find us on social media, and all of that fun stuff right there on the website.
Nice.
And you, sir?
Yes, one more time for my art, djonesartcollection.com for the web, at djonesartcollection for Instagram, Facebook, and TikTok.
Fabulous.
That's it for me.
Yay.
Well, we hope you guys got something out of this.
That we do.
And we hope that you can go out and find your purpose.
Find your purpose.
Because the world needs everybody with a purpose.
Yes. This is
and
true.
everybody has one.
This is true.
It's like just like how we all have these bodies.
Yep.
Everybody has a purpose. You just have to figure it out.
You do. Yep.
And we hope everybody has a great week.
That we do.
And until next week, peace and love.